they can feel and understand directly. These are the kinds of things that will bring our cultures together, that will celebrate our diversity of culture, and make New York the greatest place on earth. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Salgado.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank the Museum of Tolerance for inviting me to this forum. When we talk about tolerance, we are talking about how can we work, how can we work with other people even though they look, how can we work with other people even when they look, believe differently than us. Discrimination is something that should not be tolerated by any civilized society. I am proud to be the only one who is not currently or do not belong to the current politician establishment. And for that, I have been discriminated. I just filed a lawsuit against the Quinnipiac poll and the Quinnipiac University because they do not include me in their poll. And the only reason that they brought to the court is because they only take in consideration people who already held office before. But yet they include John Castametiri, who never held an office before. I also have been discriminated from ABC from not participating in the forum, and the only reason that they present is that I didn't collect enough money to be able to participate from the matching fund. Discrimination is still a clear and a present situation in New York City. When they discriminate you from being not part of the current system, and when they discriminate you for not raising enough money, it makes you think, how can a common New Yorker actually come out and challenge this career politician? We talk so much about Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, on how he tries to prevent the opposition from expressing themselves. But yet, in New York City, when we're supposed to advance so much, they try to prevent me from expressing myself to my people. I believe that tolerance is something that we have to work on, and we have to face it. We need to work a lot forward here in New York City to be able to make everybody part of the current system. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anthony Weiner has joined us. Mr. Weiner, we're asking for 2 minutes. What is tolerance to you?
Well, I think, first of all, thank you for being tolerant of me being late. You started the forum right during prime time of a 19-month-old's bath schedule, so I thank you for letting me arrive late, and no disrespect intended to my colleague. Look, the real test of tolerance is not standing up for your own group, but standing up for someone else. One of the reasons why this conversation about stop and frisk, I think, is so important in the city right now is not so much the impact that stopping hundreds of thousands of people of color has on those people, which I think is intuitive, and I think that's widely covered. I think it's a teachable moment for all of us to remember why we're in leadership positions and why we're New Yorkers. What's important about the conversation is that we realize that even though someone like me and many people in this audience would never get stopped by a police officer simply because of their appearance, we are a less perfect city when that type of thing goes on hundreds of thousands of times. That's why it has been something that frankly has unified the city. It's also been a moment missed by Mayor Bloomberg, and regrettably, I think he deserves a lot of credit for turning down the temperature of tensions in the city that we inherited after Giuliani. And frankly, that legacy is getting chipped away at with the heated rhetoric that he's using now in his defense of the policies. You know, let's remember something. The issue of stop and frisk is the number of people that are being stopped who did nothing wrong. So this is not a conversation about catching criminals. This is a conversation about how we honor people that have done nothing wrong except be wearing the wrong skin color and be of the wrong age, perhaps in the wrong neighborhood. So it's very important. But this issue of tolerance also goes to how you deal with issues that affect not only big minorities, but very discrete ones, like Orthodox Jews, for example. You know, I've been criticized a lot of places for my position on Mitzvah Pepe, on the ritual, on the ritual bris. My instinct as a liberal is the libertarian sense of that word, is that we have to be very, very careful when we in government decide to step in, even if we are 100% sure Remember, government always is about the rule of the majority rule. That doesn't mean that once you're elected or once you have a position to which you've been elected, doesn't mean you have to be extra careful to protect the rights of people that are in the smallest of minorities.
Thank you. We're going to turn to our questioners now. The first is going to be Mr. Sears. He's going to ask a question of the panel, and the order of response will be, well, the first three anyway, will be Mr. de Blasio, followed by Mr. McDonald, and then Mr. Hidley.
Great. Thanks, Rob. Can you hear me? Great. So first, let me thank each of you for joining us this evening. I'm Todd Sears. I founded an organization called Out on the Street, which is an LGBT senior leadership Wall Street organization. Started here in New York with 6 Wall Street firms and has now grown to 19 Wall Street firms. We've expanded the organization to Europe, and we're actually taking our summits into Asia this fall, which will be the first LGBT summit ever in Asia. And so my focus today is around LGBT, but also Wall Street and business. And so the first question, Mr. de Blasio, and I think Errol might not have mentioned, but we're in random order. We didn't prepare these questions for anyone in particular. So my first question is, financial services companies have been taking a reputational hit since 2008, and yet they still represent a significant part of the New York community, 13% of our tax base and 35% of our employment income. In a lot of areas, including LGBT, they are at the forefront of advocacy. 14 financial services firms signed the DOMA amicus brief for the overturn of the Defense of Marriage Act, more than any other industry. For example, Goldman Sachs actually has a donor advised fund, Goldman Gives, that gives over $1 billion, or has given over $1 billion in the last 2 years to charity, most of it in New York alone. And they also have a 10,000 women and a 10,000 small business program, both of which have been arguably more successful than some of the city's initiatives to support women and minority small business owners. So my question to you is, as we move forward, how can you leverage public-private partnerships, specifically Wall Street's or other industries, to move diversity and inclusion forward from a business perspective in a productive way?
Well, a couple of answers. I mean, first of all, I think there's a lot of folks in the business community of this city, as you described, the financial sector and beyond, who do a lot of good for this city. And I think there's many ways that we can actually deepen that commitment. One of the things I've talked about is making sure that every high school and ultimately every middle school in this city have a pairing with a business or a business sector to help intensify the relationship between our young people and the businesses that hopefully one day they'll work for, and to give them real life experience, real opportunity, mentorship, internships, to show a lot of young people in this city for whom the notion of working in an office building is a very foreign one, that could really be a possibility for them. So I think there's ways to deepen the connection between our business sector and those in the business sector who really want to give back to the city, and folks in need in the city. Now, that being said, there are a lot of folks in need in this city, and this is something that I think more and more in this debate we're having about the future is coming clearer. We had a very chilling statistic come out from a city study just about 2 months ago, that 46% of New Yorkers are living at or near the poverty level, 150% of the poverty level or below. That's really different than what we used to experience in this town. I think we are increasingly understanding that there's some particular challenges, particularly the challenge of poverty and the lack of opportunity that so many people in this city are facing, that the business community has to help us deal with. Now, there's different ways to handle that. I've called for a tax on wealthy individuals as a way to help fix our school system, for example. And I do that in a positive spirit of saying our schools need help, our kids need help, and those who have done well, I think, can help us a little more. To your first point, I think the reputational hit, as you describe it, let's face it, that came from some very bad decisions some people made in the financial sector. I don't think that means everyone in the financial sector, but some people made really horrendous decisions that affected millions and millions of people. And it takes a while for people to resolve that in their minds. And if we're going to resolve it, and this is a final wrapping it together in terms of tolerance, action is what resolves people's feelings of concern. So I'd like to see the financial industry and the business community in general deepen their commitment to the city.
I don't think it makes sense for the mayor of the city of New York or a candidate for controller. Can you hear me?
No.
All right. There you go. Yeah. I don't think it. I don't think it makes sense for the mayor or a candidate for controller to attack Wall Street. I don't think that that's a good position for the city to be in, and I don't think an attack is also a tax. I don't think the idea of taxing people that make over $500,000 in New York City